Welcome to your Houston Rewind for February 13th through the 17th. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. We know catching up on the news can be a little overwhelming, especially in a city like Houston where it just doesn't stop. So every weekend we take this opportunity to fill you in on some of the stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. The FBI will investigate the deaths of 2 inmates at the Harris County Jail. That announcement came down Monday after families and civil rights attorneys demanded a federal probe into the growing number of people dying behind bars. Attorney Ben Crump told Adam Bennett at least 4 inmates already lost their lives this year.
1 week after former jailer Eric Morales became the first ever detention officer criminally charged in connection with an in-custody death at the Harris County Jail, the sheriff's office announced the FBI will be reviewing that death of Jaquari Simmons in 2021, along with Jacoby Pillow's death last month. Lawyers say Pillow was being released on a $100 bond for a misdemeanor trespassing charge when he was involved in a fight with jail personnel. Pillow got new charges, was detained overnight, and found dead the next morning.
It's been 7 weeks, and we have not been notified or told anything.
This morning, his family demanded answers, accountability, and change.
Being a former employee in Harris County, working for pretrial, I've literally witnessed correctional staff mistreat detainees because they were in need of insulin for diabetes or other medical issues, and I've literally witnessed them be the reason for altercation taking place between them and detainees, and it's not fair and it's not right.
Prominent civil rights lawyer Ben Crump held the press conference with Pillow's family and several others whose loved ones also died in custody.
How do I explain that she's never, ever coming back to the 7-year-old?
Harris County, y'all need some help. We need some help, man.
Lawyers are working to help the families get evidence.
You don't need to say no more, just release the video.
Attempts, they say, so far have gone nowhere.
Invite the families in and let them see it. Talk to them so that they're not in the dark.
This is a developing story. We'll share any updates in this article on KHOU.com. 2 weeks after it opened, the Navigation Center in Houston is a pit stop on the road to finding a home. Monday, Gerald Harris learned about the resources available to keep people off the streets.
It's an uphill battle for some living on the street to find housing.
It's been difficult, it's been hard.
Anthony Willis says he's been trying to find housing for at least a year. And between trying to stay safe and get food, the hard part for him has been working through the right agencies amid unpredictability.
You don't have no phone out here. You don't have nobody really trying to help you and tell you where to go.
But the city of Houston, which has worked to reduce the city's unhoused population by closing housing encampments like this one near Minute Maid Park and relocating those in need.
The process to house someone off the streets takes time and it takes a lot of work.
Many went to the Navigation Center, a place for clients to have access to on-site case managers and access to mental and physical health professionals.
I tell everybody this is as close as you feel to normalcy again.
Ricardo Manriquez has a terminal condition with roughly 18 months left to live. He says as a married gay man, the space provides a welcoming environment that he or his husband couldn't get anywhere else.
So we want to have some kind of normalcy before anything happens. So if we can get into housing and have a normal life, even if it's just for a matter of months, that'll be the best thing that could happen to me before whatever happens to me.
There are 100 semi-private beds located at the Navigation Center. Pets and couples are welcomed. There's access to recreation, showers, and 3 meals a day.
The mayor says this isn't about cleaning up the streets ahead of March Madness next month. He says it's part of a larger effort to continue to reduce the homeless population, which is down 63% since 2012. As your education station, we're highlighting the best readers in town for the Read to the Final Four competition. It coincides with the NCAA Final Four, which comes to Houston next month. On Monday, Ron Trevino highlighted the tournament encouraging local kids to read.
The kids are pumped about reading, a competition aimed at getting third graders to develop a love of books. Schools and classes competing to see who can read the most minutes. The Final Four Houston Local Organizing Committee held a pep rally this morning, and our own Cheetah Craft was there at Alvin High School.
Let's talk about who are our top 8 schools and the top readers.
We are down to the Elite 8 schools left. These are the top 8 schools in the competition. Ashley Champion is a teacher at Dr. Red Duke Elementary.
I have so many kids that struggle, and getting to see that light on their face of, oh my gosh, we actually did this, that was probably one of the best moments of my teaching career.
And so far, this competition is exceeding its goal. The kids have completed nearly 40 million minutes of reading.
My goal was 17 million, and we exceeded that in December before we went away for the holidays. And so I knew then, I said, I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to blow it out of the water.
And waiting for the schools that end up on top, all sorts of prizes as they read to the Final Four.
A new resolution filed in the Texas legislature this week would give judges more leeway to deny bond to suspects charged with violent offenses. This isn't the first time lawmakers considered the issue, but Maria Aguilera explained why this is the first time voters could decide.
Proposed legislation filed Monday at the state capitol would allow judges to deny bail to some defendants accused of a violent or sexual offense or continuous human trafficking. This constitutional amendment was authored by Republican Senator Joan Huffman and Democratic Senator Juan Chuy Hinojosa. Senator Huffman said in part this would, quote, give judges an additional tool to hold the most violent offenders in jail until their trial date. She goes on to say that communities continue to be, quote, terrorized by violent defendants out on bond, including offenders out on multiple bonds.
Every individual charged with a crime is entitled to bail in Texas by way of the Texas Constitution, except in capital offenses where proof evident is shown.
One of those exceptions is capital murder. KHOU 11 legal analyst Carmen Rose says this constitutional amendment would carve out additional exceptions where bail can be denied. Andy Kahn with Crime Stoppers of Houston says there is a benefit to giving judges discretion. He says this would help decrease crimes committed by people out on bond.
I just think it's important to give judges as many tools as possible. And when you're dealing with, that small segment, the worst of the worst, at least it'll offer them the opportunity that they don't have right now.
Others argue this takes away the presumption of innocence people have in the U.S. Jed Silverman, the president of the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, says there are cases of people being wrongfully accused.
Those are terrible allegations to be accused of sexual assault of a child, murder. These are horrible things to be accused of, but many times people that are innocent, that are not guilty of these offenses, are accused of these things. And that's why we have a jury system.
If the resolution passes the legislature, it will be included on the November ballot. It takes a lot of work to bring the NCAA Men's Final Four to Houston, and women make up about 60% of the planning committee. Rekha Mudaraj introduced us to the woman in charge of some of the major events happening around the tournament.
It is crunch time.
Rachel Kwan knows what it takes to plan one of the biggest events to land in Houston, the NCAA Final Four.
It's not my first rodeo. It's my fifth Final
How
Four
does it feel
rodeo.
the fifth time around?
It feels great.
From her first time in 2011 in Houston to 2016, then in 2019 in San Antonio to last year in New Orleans. Kwan, who's the VP of External Operations for the Houston Local Organizing Committee, says she's figured out the formula for success.
You need to have a lot of patience. But I would also say more than anything, you have to be just really good at relationship. And that's been really important to me, is to kind of build those relationships through the years.
Planning the surrounding events takes an entire year, from the community initiatives like Read to the Final Four, Fan Fest, the Free Music Festival, and the Dribble event. She has some pro tips for locals who plan to come out.
Look up your favorite place to park, make sure you know how to navigate getting there. When they announce the music festival acts, so it is free, but you've got to register ahead of time to make sure you are able to be a part of that concert series.
The perks of the job? Kwan has a front seat to the biggest moments in the tournament. Well, most of the time.
I was in the stadium and got a notice that there was some need out in the parking lot, that there was something I needed to go see, and I went out to the parking lot. All of a sudden, I just saw people jumping up and down in the background and realized that shot, the famous last-second buzzer beater shot, had gone off, and everybody was in the stadium having a great time, and I was out in the parking lot. But Anyway, that's the job, right? You go where you're asked to go.
Reka Mutteraj, KHOU 11 News. March Madness is famous for its Cinderella stories, but we've got one playing out right here in Houston. The Willow Ridge High School girls basketball team posted a winning record for the first time since 2017 and is headed to the playoffs for the first time in nearly a decade. Marcelino Benito showed us how the team pulled off this turnaround.
Motion, 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 motion.
It's hours before game time.
Here we go.
Inside the gym at Willow Ridge High.
Everybody loves to win, so when you're winning, everybody's happy.
But the Lady Eagles know what it's like to lose. A lot.
My freshman year, oh, we got beat bad.
Last season, they only won 5 games. They haven't had a winning record in 6 years.
Come on, come on. Now they don't want to feel that way anymore. And so that also drives their hunger and want to be in the gym.
But Willow Ridge alum and head coach Tiffany Collins says this season,
my blood pressure is definitely lower.
They're rewriting history, a winning 23-8 record. And they've done it with a lot of sophomores and even a few freshmen.
We're like sisters, so they all fight and we get over it and we play.
Something Willow Ridge hasn't witnessed or celebrated in 8 years. History called for a stylish send-off.
They're representing more than just themselves. They're representing a whole community that is rooting for them.
That community showed up to watch this young team start their playoff run. A dominant showing against Waltrip High, smothering defense leading to high-powered offense. There will be plenty more to cheer on before this historic turnaround season is over.
We applied that pressure and we got the win. It feels good to get this by-district championship. Now we're ready for the next round.
At Butler Stadium, Marcelino Benito, KHOU 11 News.
Families of students and teachers killed in the Santa Fe High School shooting are leading the charge for transparency. They weren't allowed to see things like autopsy reports to better understand how their loved ones died. So now, Grace White shared on Wednesday, they're pitching a law that would change that.
This bill would give victims' families access to things like a medical examiner's report and any video of the crime. It's evidence that in the case of Santa Fe has been kept from these families because of the pending trial. But 5 years later, there is no trial date set, and some of these families say they deserve answers.
It's hard.
There's something about sewing that helps Rosie Stone manage her grief.
It's my calm. It's just a peaceful thing.
It's a hobby she picked up after losing her son, Chris Stone, in the Santa Fe High School shooting.
It's a very hard thing that you have to wake up every single day and just wait to see if that day is the day that we're going to get the information on our kids.
She's been told her son helped save 7 other students, but she hasn't been allowed to see the medical examiner's report to know how many times he was shot and where.
It's almost like the killers have more justice than the victims do. And why is that? Because they're dead?
There hasn't been a trial for the accused Santa Fe shooter because he hasn't been declared competent to stand trial. In the meantime, Senate Bill 435 would provide some answers. Proposed by State Senator Mays Middleton, it allows prosecutors to share certain information about a crime with victims and their families. But it doesn't require the information to be made public, preserving it for trial.
I still don't officially know if Kimberly was shot from the behind or from the front or with what weapons. And
Rhonda Hart also supports the bill. Her daughter Kimberly Vaughn was killed at Santa Fe too.
I mean, as a parent, as a mom, I was actively involved when she came into this world, right? I had a front row seat and I don't know how she left it.
Back at Stone's home, she's dealing with the waiting the best way she knows how.
When I first started quilting, this was like maybe my 3rd or 4th thing to make.
Creating something beautiful to keep her mind from focusing on the questions she still has about her son.
Nothing should be withheld from us parents. That's just my opinion on that.
Galveston County District Attorney Jack Rodeo supports this bill. He says under current law, crime victims and their families don't have the ability to access this evidence prior to trial, but this would change that, and he says allow his office to share some of the information these families have been waiting on. In Santa Fe, Grace White, KHOU 11 News.
A local school district wants to move to a 4-day week. Crosby ISD says a shorter week might attract and retain teachers, something the district struggled with. On Wednesday, Ana Yeli Ruiz spoke to parents who aren't too happy with the proposal.
It's a dream for many kids, fewer school days and more play. And that's what Crosby ISD is considering. The school district is thinking of going to a 4-day school week for the next school year, a proposal that's causing anxiety among some parents.
I honestly kind of started freaking out just because, I have 2 older ones in middle school and then I have my younger one in elementary. And my first thought was childcare.
In an email sent to parents, the school district said the idea came up after the district employees inquired about the possibility of adopting a 4-day work week. Due to the teacher shortage, this would help the district retain current teachers and attract more. But for working families, childcare would be a problem.
Everybody doesn't work in just Crosby, so a 2-day weekend, that's normal to find a babysitter or, do what you have to do, but an extra day is going to be kind of hard.
According to the TEA, as long as the district meets the required minutes, the district has the flexibility on the structure of the school day or week. And in order to make this proposal a reality, the district says they would increase the school day by no more than 30 minutes. They would still have their national holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas break, and would start school in August and end in May.
Bueno, en cuestión de la educación, un día extra en la escuela es mejor.
This stay-at-home mother said it would be a problem for her. She worries about her child's education and says an extra day at school is better than staying at home playing.
Para los que trabajan y empiezan el daycare y todo.
This mom said it would be more of a financial burden for working parents, but there are others who feel this change would be good for the district.
I think there's a good reason to do that, so I would say I'm okay with it.
Nothing set in stone yet. The district expects to make a decision by the end of the month. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is right around the corner, but some competitions already have winners. Matt Doherty caught up with this year's school art contest grand champion, who might look familiar.
This year's winner is no stranger to trophies. Last year, she set the rodeo's record for highest price paid for student artwork at auction.
So the first thing that I do is I grid my canvas.
Mia Huckman will graduate from Foster High School this year, leaving as an expert at painting the modern West.
It's just what I've always done. I enjoy doing it. It is something that's entertaining to me. It makes me happy.
The detail is what you'd expect to find in a photograph rather than an acrylic painting. Each strand of hair on the horse's mane, the veins in the old cowboy's hand, the moth holes in the brim of his hat. Mia has placed at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo school art competition every year that she's been in high school. Her painting last year got second place. It sold for more money at auction than the painting that won first place.
Last year, I got reserve grand champion and I set the rodeo auction record for sales. My painting sold for $265,000.
The way Mia chooses her subject matter is fairly simple.
Look at past winners and I kind of figure out, okay, these are the things that tend to place high and sell well.
Mia is far from alone. Foster High School has developed a reputation for turning out some of the most artistically talented students in the area.
Since 2000, we've had 13 students achieve either grand champion or reserve grand champion.
The amount of money the winners get to keep is fixed, regardless of the selling price at auction. Last year, Mia got to keep $19,000.
It's a check, so I can do whatever I want with it.
This year, she'll get to keep $30,000 once her painting sells at auction in March. We'll have to wait until then to see if she's able to break the record she set last year once again. In Richmond, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
If you want to get rodeo ready, check out our KHOU 11 Plus rewind of our coverage last year. You can watch it wherever you're watching this. It covers all the events leading up to the start of the rodeo, the student competitions, the food, the rides. We've got it all. On Thursday, Houston Police shared an update about the city's Shot Spotter program. It alerted officers to more than 5,000 gunshots over the past 2+ years, 90% of which weren't ever reported by citizens. Adam Bennett looked at how the tool helps police speed up response times and, in some cases, solve crimes.
Over a 5 square mile area of southeast Houston, more than 150 detectors take a sound like this, triangulate its location, then send an audio clip to a technician at ShotSpotter headquarters. Within 30 seconds, that person determines whether it's a gunshot. If so, HPD gets an alert.
We have had stories from people who live in the area of people having their children sleep in bathtubs because they're worried that they're going to get hit by a stray bullet because they hear gunfire all the time.
This afternoon, HPD Assistant Chief Milton Martin told City Council's Public Safety Committee about 1 out of 5 ShotSpotter alerts has generated an offense report. That's more than 1,000 total. They've also led to 99 arrests, 126 charges, and more than 4,000 shell casings recovered. Most of those were entered into a national database.
Let's say the casings are being discovered in one location, they can be tied to an aggravated assault, a robbery, even a homicide in another location.
Some people don't believe these results justify the city's 5-year, $3.5 million contract with ShotSpotter.
Move that and put it into programs that actually reduce gun violence, like housing and healthcare and debt relief.
The program is greenlighting government surveillance in communities.
What can we demonstrate in terms of real outcomes on the problem that we're supposed to be solving?
Assistant Chief Martin told me he believes the program's been worth it and that some of the biggest benefits can't be measured.
Talking to community members and seeing the confidence that they have now that there is something we can do about gunfire, it was always a frustration.
ShotSpotter detectors also cover 5 square miles on the city's north side. A Houston man who rescues exotic pets says his organization is reaching its breaking point and that the number of abandoned reptiles and other animals is way up. Zach Tawatari examined why this is happening.
It's well known that owners giving up dogs and cats is a major problem. But what about other pets? One Houston organization tells me that surrenders of exotic animals are up 800%.
Inside this Houston storefront, it's a walk on the wild side.
This is Houston Underground Animals.
Nick Louie's independently funded rescue takes in creatures of all shapes and sizes.
Some of them are 20, 30-foot snakes. We get exotic animals like monkeys and lemurs. We get crocodiles.
And more common reptiles.
Bearded dragons.
But just like the dog and cat influx in shelters, space here has become a premium.
We typically rescue 5, maybe 10 animals a month. Then ever since about November of last year, we average anywhere from 30 to 40.
A problem, he says, that's exploded in the last 6 months, but can be traced back to the spike in the pet market during the pandemic.
The new toy kind of thing wears off, and then they have an animal, a responsibility that they're taking care of.
Which can require more time.
Bugs 3 days a week, salads 3 days a week.
Research.
2 different types of light. They need heat and they need UVB.
Room.
This cage is 4 foot by 2 foot.
And resources.
Who wants to go in and spend $700 when you could spend $300 on quote unquote the same thing?
Then some new owners are willing to commit to.
There's no one to take them in, so they will literally take them and put them outside.
It's illegal to own animals like lions, tigers, crocodiles, monkeys over 20 pounds, and snakes over 8 feet long that are considered wild by the city of Houston. And even those pets that just aren't as common as dogs or cats can require weekly care and live for decades. Louis says people need to know before they buy.
These animals, they rely on you entirely.
Zach Tawatari, KHOU 11 News.
A legendary Houston Rockets player and coach helped spruce up a community center playground on Thursday. The historic facility was picked as this year's NCAA Men's Final Four Legacy Project. Jason Miles talked to Hall of Famer Rudy T about how the Blue Triangle Community Center helped shape him.
Dozens of volunteers got down and dirty today, shoveling, raking, resodding, and planting, helping the Blue Triangle Community Center blossom again.
And I think the word center is very important because this can be the center of this community.
Legendary Houston Rockets player and coach Rudy Tomjanovich, who led them to 2 back-to-back NBA championships, joined this team after a call from the Basketball Hall of Fame.
When I heard what was happening here at the historical Blue Triangle Community Center, people from the community volunteering to work and make this community center a better place and a safer place, it touched my heart.
Rudy T tells me a community center helped keep him out of trouble as a child and also provided his first exposure to basketball, much like many youth around Blue Triangle. Its selection by the NCAA for this year's Final Four host city legacy project will mean a gymnasium makeover, including a new floor.
The Final Four heard our prayers and our pleas.
92-year-old Charlotte Bryant helped save the building when the YWCA moved out, then worked to secure a post-Harvey renovation that did not include the gym.
Not only does it keep kids off the streets and keep them out of trouble, but it also gives them an opportunity to learn enough skills in basketball to go to college.
I'm told the playground renovation was a bonus when project sponsor Unilever asked about doing something extra, getting an assist today from HEB employees and Rudy T.
What would be the cherry on the top if the Cougars were there in the Final Four, which I think can happen.
The gymnasium makeover reveal is planned for the last week of March when Final Four activities begin. Of course, we'll share that here on KHOU 11. When Rodeo Houston kicks off in less than 2 weeks, country star Parker McCollum will be the opening act. But the first time the Conroe native performed, he did it at a hidden gem in Montgomery County. This hidden gem really sticks out.
It's a barn from Kentucky, a tobacco barn from the 1850s. We took it apart, put it on the back of a flatbed truck like a bunch of Lincoln logs, shipped it down, and then re-raised it.
On the side of I-45 in the Woodlands.
We wanted to have a little place for coffee that was different than Starbucks. And I couldn't think of anything more different than an original barn.
But as Stephen Said, his wife, and crew were putting the finishing touches on the building, the songwriter had a thought.
This room probably would sound pretty good with music in it.
Turns out he was right. The calendar really filled up after singer B.J. Thomas performed there.
He started telling everybody he knew that was in the business, have you been to Do-Si-Do yet? We have artists that come in all the time that never play for less than 2,000 or 3,000 people, and they're playing in our room of 400, just because of the room.
The walls of the barn are lined with black and white photos like these, highlighting some of the many artists who've played here, like Winona Judd.
Winona has played here many times now.
So have up-and-coming stars.
Parker McCollum had his first show ever in this room, had his CD release party in this room, and now he's going to be the star, the opening act at the Houston Rodeo in 2023. That's pretty darn cool.
You've probably noticed by now the seating isn't what you would normally associate with a concert. That's because the Big Barn doesn't just serve up 5-star artists. Your ticket comes with a 5-star dinner.
We actually build the menu based on what's available, the season, and what kind of music is on the stage.
If you're looking for something on a smaller scale, you can find it at this Do-Si-Do off Research Forest Drive.
It's a live music venue. It's a bar that has more award-winning whiskeys than any other bar in the state of Texas. We actually produce our own coffee and our own barbecue sauce.
This location opened in 2014. It's called, actually, I'm gonna let Steve handle this one.
It's called the Do-Si-Do Breakfast Barbecue and Whiskey Bar, or I lovingly refer to as the DDBBBQWB.
Now you gotta add an S for the Stag Speakeasy.
The Speakeasy can only be entered through and by a password and through a very special and secret passageway.
This place is a blast from the past, full of Prohibition-era furniture and art. Even the vintage radios have been converted to modern speakers playing, what else? Jazz.
As much as we kind of wanted to keep it on the down low, come on, once you see the space, you talk about the space, and the next thing you know, people say, I want to have a party there.
There's space for that here too.
There's a lot going on.
So the next time you drive by that old-timey barn on the freeway, I hope you remember the story of how a would-be coffee shop turned into an iconic music venue.
I have this philosophy that basically is ignorance and innocence will get you a long way in this world.
Meet other characters like Said and check out amazing places like the Big Barn through our Hidden Gem segments. You can watch each one of the more than 50 we've explored or watch an episode of our Hidden Gem specials. You can find them wherever you're watching this, on KHOU.com, KHOU11 Plus, or our KHOU11 YouTube channel. A Texas man and his family are on a mission to bring a historic quilt made in Texas back to the Lone Star State. Brittany Ford shared how they took their fight to the steps of Houston's British consulate on Friday.
The Chalice quilt has been on display at the American Museum and Gardens in Britain for 40 years.
To bring about a heightened awareness to help get this quilt back.
But it's a story of how it got there, recently uncovered by political activist and filmmaker Eric Williams, that has him calling for its return back to East Texas.
Started doing my slave research and ancestry and put together a film on my slave ancestors that I uncovered through Harrison County's research books that this particular quilt was manufactured by my family. And the
Finding Miriam is a documentary by Williams on his formerly enslaved ancestors in Harrison County, highlighting the journey of his great-great-grandmother, Miriam Williams.
Everything dealing with cotton was manufactured by my ancestors and others on the slave plantation of Mimosa Hall during the 1800s.
He says there are several historical narratives on how the quilt was brought to Great Britain, but they all seem to point to one thing.
We believe that it was stolen, it was taken.
Williams has been working with Councilwoman Shirley McKellar of Tyler and community leaders across the state who wrote letters to King Charles III demanding its release, an issue they brought to Houston's British consulate, hoping to bring greater awareness.
That quilt absolutely does not mean to the British people what it means to us here in East Texas.
Williams says the museum has since ceased licensing the piece and has pulled it off display, but has yet to agree to its release back to his family.
The only resistance that we're getting is from overseas, not here.
Brittany Ford, KHOU 11 News.
President's Day weekend is here, and that means deals and discounts. On average, Americans spend almost $400 this holiday. But if you want to get the most bang for your buck, check out Tiffany Craig's story first.
President's Day, the holiday that can save you big bucks if you know what to buy. According to Retail Me Not, the top 3 categories that consumers are planning to shop, 29% say clothing and accessories, 22% plan to shop for electronics, and 20% of you are looking for beauty and skincare. That's why Sephora is offering half off some popular beauty buys. And Ulta is doing a BOGO on mix and match mini products. But the best deals are going on home goods, particularly the big ticket items like appliances, mattresses, furniture, rugs, and some home tech. You'll see 70% off at Wayfair, half off at Bed Bath & Beyond. Plus, you'll notice President's Day deals at Mattress Firm, Casper, Best Buy, Target, and yes, Amazon.
A pair of cougar cubs made their public debut at the Houston Zoo on Friday. Shasta the 7th and Louie will serve as the newest ambassadors for the University of Houston. Michelle Choi introduced us.
Yeah, it was really cool to meet these 2 adorable cougar cubs in person. They're absolutely beautiful, full of personality, and perfectly fit to rep U of H. And even better, Houstonians can now meet them too. After spending the last few months getting bigger and stronger behind the scenes, the now 5-month-old cougar cub siblings, Shasta the 7th and Louie, moved into their new home this morning. The siblings were found abandoned in Washington State before relocating to their forever home here at the Houston Zoo. Since then, they've been growing quickly.
It's been definitely a journey with these 2. When they came in, they were very, very small, a little bit underweight. So our vet clinic actually did an amazing job nursing them back up.
And developing big personalities.
Louie, he's one that is all about his snacks. Shasta, he's the little bit braver one.
The zoo's newest residents are also carrying on the long-standing tradition of serving as ambassadors for the University of Houston.
They definitely represent the cougar spirit, and we are delighted to have them in our family.
Shasta the 7th is also the school's new live mascot. Here's the moment he met the other Shasta today. The Cubs' role's even more meaningful to U of H Cougs like like Parker Hearn and his fellow bandmates, who all got up early this morning to meet them, as the U of H men's basketball team gets ready for March Madness, with Houston hosting the Final Four this year.
March Madness coming up, you know, we all have high hopes. We're looking for an amazing season to come through, and I'm a believer. I think they go all the way.
I'm told Shasta and Louie's newest home is actually temporary. Once they get bigger, they'll be moved to their permanent home over at the large cougar habitat in the coming months. Back to you.
Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you're ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via KHOU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Have a great week. We are so glad you're here. Make sure you like and subscribe so we can let you know when we post. Also, check these out.